everyone, and welcome back to Building Nations. We are here once again in the Dwarven Kingdom of Weirutink, ready to do some more work on this housing area. A couple of changes. For one, this staircase used to start here. It is now starting here. And for two, these blocks are now here. So, the reason for this, originally I had pillars like this pillar here, and I mean this works in terms of pillar placement, but I think it would look a little bit better if I had pillars going down that way and maybe some down this way as well. I just don't want to block this view, so we'll see how that's going to go. I am taking inspiration from a number of sources on my decisions here with the houses. A lot of it's from Windcraft's Rotorok, if you know what that is. I have some videos on my channel where I'm in there. And just, it's a dwarven city, but there's just like buildings, like actual buildings in it, because the ceiling's so high. So that's some of my inspiration, and there are a lot of like houses embedded in the walls usually, which I think is a pretty cool idea, and I want to do that because I think it looks good. So I do need to get these pillars set up and then make a design for them, but I also need to find and plot out an area for all of these houses, so a lot of planning is going to go into what I'm about to do. And so I know I said that I wasn't going to time-lapse the planning process, but I just kind of changed my mind, because I think it's pretty interesting here, the exact things that I did. And what I'm doing right now is what was cut out of the old Building Nations, or the last week's Building Nations video, where I cut and the area was like completely terraformed. This is how I did that. A brush set to apply cylinder with those blocks with a mask of stone, just moving it around the area to create that sort of texture. And that's like, I want it to feel like it's been walked on a lot. Like you get the pathway that I have in the other places, and it's like super detailed and highly structured. But I want this pathway to feel like people are constantly here walking around. So there's some more like damage to the pathway. It's less structured now, and it's, you know, a bit more rugged and natural looking. So that's my logic there. I did have to design a pillar, and I like this design that I have right now. It's got the same light in the base, but it's also detailed, but not too detailed going up to the top. It's a nice pillar design that I like. And can send that around to the other places in this area. So useful stuff there. Now to remove the blue concrete to sector off what's going to be going on now, and I can actually start planning some houses. So I decided to go with just one diagonal house that's not attached to a wall anyway. There are some others that are attached to a wall, but one diagonal house that isn't part of a wall, because I've read that it's really good to do. I've seen the effects of doing it, and it looks really good. It's just really hard. So I'm trying it out here on one single house, one single freestanding house, and I designed the structure incorrectly, the planning incorrectly, and you'll see why in a minute, I think, when I actually start building it. But yeah, it's wrong right now. I should have changed it up a bit to make it actually work how it's supposed to. But that's beside the point. The house I'm designing right now is a house. It's going to be the sort of model I use for the rest of the houses, so it doesn't need to look perfect necessarily, but I'll try my best to make it not look like complete garbage, I guess. Alright, so we have this first house here, and it looks alright. It's not the best house I've ever made, but I think for the purposes of what I'm trying to go for here, it does what I want it to. And honestly, I'm not sure how to build a house in this style, at this scale either. So that's something to consider as well when you see me building this. So now I just have to build the rest of these. And yeah, I also might do a second level here. I wanted to put like a staircase in back here. I could do one. I'm not sure if I want to do that. We'll see if I have time by the end of me building the rest of these. Alright, so for the rest of these houses, it's pretty much the exact same thing as with that first one, but on different levels and stuff, and it's weird because I had to make some diagonal houses by my own choice, but I still had to do it. And it's hard. Like, it's hard to make it look good, it's hard to make the roof fit correctly, without looking too odd. And I think the key is to make it symmetrical. I mean, by building a diagonal house, it isn't symmetrical already. So if you just like make it symmetrical in like the walls, it'll make the roof fit better. If that makes sense at all, which it probably doesn't. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me hearing it now, but like if you move 2 blocks diagonally, like constantly, like you see I would circle it if I had like a pencil, but on the one diagonal house that I made, how it's like it moves in twos, and then in the last side, there's like a block of 4 instead of a block of 2, if that makes sense. And that makes the roof look weird because it's not symmetrical in how it moves, if that makes sense. So, yeah, to build diagonal houses, keep the sides symmetrical. Otherwise, it'll look kind of weird. So, it'll look kind of weird to me, it'll look kind of weird to you. Another thing that I had to do here is because there's on such a small scale, and I didn't really have a lot of room, I had to like, instead of building pillars and then building the walls a block behind the pillars to create depth, there were some cases, like in the house I just made, where some of the walls were behind the pillars, but the other walls were in line with the pillars, and I like that. I add detail in the walls anyway, but it gives me more room in the interior without completely taking away from the exterior. So, in a small space, that's a really good idea to do, and I would recommend it. It worked for me, but obviously building on a bigger scale, if you have more room to make a house, I suggest doing that. It makes it look better. And that's one thing that I would change, honestly, when picking out this space. I'm like, okay, cool, this is a big space, a lot of area to work with here, there's a lot I can do, and now I don't have that much room. Maybe because I segregated so much space over for the prison, but I don't know. Either way, I just don't have a lot of room. So it's kind of interesting to see just how much space you really need to make a project that's big and that looks good. So just something to consider. Alright, now that all of these houses are completed for the most part, there's no interiors, obviously, because I don't know if I'll do them ever, but I might at some point. I'll think about it, if I want to do them or not. No second level yet. I'm still thinking about whether or not I want to add it in. If I do, it'll probably be a staircase here, and then probably like a walkway, and then the houses will be like these in the walls. I should have enough space out the back to do it, so there's that if I'm deciding on doing that or not. So there are a couple of other things that I wanted to accomplish in this episode, and that is going to be to get the pathway here set up also. And it shouldn't be too hard, because these are 5x5 segments, and there are other places where we have done 5x5 segments, like here. It would be from this to that. I could do that if I wanted, or I could do like here, this segment, that's a 5x5 also. Could do that, or I could just do some hybrid of the two. Maybe alternate, like, I mean, I could actually work if I alternate this design with this design. So, hang on, let's try this as an experiment right here, live on camera. So, it's a 5x5. We already have this set up, so it would go like here. Obviously I didn't paste the redstone blocks in, so we're going to be left with that, but that's what it looks like at the transition, which I think works pretty well. I like that. And then we go out 5 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right here. Cool. So now you have that, and then we just stick the 5x5 that's here like that into the next space. Though we may need to do the same thing that we did previously and use a buffer block. But how does that look? Looks pretty good, actually. I like that. Yeah. It might be a bit too many redstone lamps, but I'm not going to say no to more lighting, just because it's more lighting, and I think this game is too dark anyway, so, I mean, that works for me. I will need to put redstone blocks under here, but the next thing I'm going to do is just paste this thing all the way down here, and here, I guess, too, if it'll fit. Here I'll need a different walkway, but this will just be the same, like, 3 wide pattern that I used in the mine. Like this sort of thing. Probably do that over there also. And yeah, I think that works. I am happy with that. This way we get a nice bit of redstone lighting and all of that stuff, and it looks really good. So I'm going to do that. I don't think I'll do it on camera because it's not particularly interesting, but, you know, I will get it done. Alright, as you can see here, this looks about as I'd expect it to. To where you can't really tell that it's what it is, but it still looks good, I think. I mean, if you look too deeply into it, you're going to see inconsistencies, but I feel like, personally, you're not going to really do that, often. Like, unless you're specifically looking for it, you're not really going to see it. That's also part of why, on some of these roofs, like this one especially, like I didn't worry about it too much, because people are never going to see it from an angle, unless they fly around. Also, this is unfinished, oops. They're never going to see it from an angle where it actually matters that the top of the roof looks like that. So, that's why I'm not too worried about it, overall, like shape-wise. Because, I mean, if you're just, like, flying around here, or walking around, I mean, it looks like a path. It looks like it's supposed to. It's where you, like, start to analyze it, like, what is this? Why does it change what it is, like, constantly? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Once you start looking into that, then you get a problem. But, just overall, I mean, looking at it, it's like, oh, okay, this is, like, a nice ornate pathway here. And, I mean, in this area in general, you're going to be looking over here, just because of the way the landscape is, and because of how open this is going to be. Same with, I mean, if you're looking at the market or the houses, that's where you're going to be looking. You're not going to be focused on the pathway, so the pathway itself is just there as like a, hey, you're in a nice place type of deal. So, that's part of my reasoning here. Yeah. I'm not sure what I'll be doing next time. I really, it's just marketplace, mine, prison are the main big things left. I think that's really it, actually. I mean, the mine, the marketplace, and the prison need to be made. And then the mountain finished, obviously, but that's going to be a project for a whole other day. And with that, I'm going to leave this here. Leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed. If you comment any feedback you have for me, and I'll see all of you later. Bye.